Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. Also make sure you turn off the gas valve at the wall. In this video we're going to show you how to change out the MaytagDryer front drum felt seal. It's going to be a very easy repair and it should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the new front drum felt seal. The front drum felt seal seals the front of the dryer drum. The main reason you'd be changing it out, so if it's damaged, you're getting hot air leaking out into the cabinet, extending the drying times, or you're getting lint leaking into the cabinet, causing a possible fire hazard, or you're hearing a metal on metal noise as the drum spins around. In order to change the part, we have to take the dryer apart. First thing we're going to do is go around to the back of the machine. Once we're around back, we're going to use the 1/4" nut driver to take out the screws that hold the top on. Once you have the screws out, we're going to take the top off. You just have to pull back on it till it stops, then lift up on the back, and then lift the front off. Once you have it free, you can set it aside. Now that we have the top off, we're going to take the console off. First thing we have to do is disconnect these two wire harnesses. There's a locking tab on each. We're just going to take a small flathead screwdriver and press the locking tab. This one's been broken off sometime in the past. Just press on the locking tab, pull the harness off. And then we can do the same thing for this one. Then we're going to use the 1/4" nut driver to take out the screw on each end of the control panel. Once you have those out, we're going to just lift up on these tabs right here and rotate the console forward. And then pull the wire harnesses out from the support. Once you have it off, you can set it aside. Once you have the console out of the way, we're going to unplug the door switch wiring harness. Just use a small flathead screwdriver to release the tab and unplug it. Once you have that unplugged, we can take the front panel off. So we're going to open up the door and use the Phillips screwdriver to remove these two screws. Hold the lint screen housing to the front panel. Once you have those two out, we're going to close the door again. Now we're going to take out the screws at the bottom. They're in this tight little spot down here. So we're going to use a block of wood to support the dryer. Just want to carefully lift up on it a little bit. And then put the block of wood underneath there to support it. Once you have it on there, you can lower it down. There's 6 screws that go across the bottom. We're only going to take out or loosen up the inner 4. And the center 2, you don't have to take all the way out. We're just going to loosen them up. Once you're done with the screws, we're just going to tilt the machine back a little bit and pull the block of wood out and carefully lower it down. Now we're going to use the 1/4" nut driver again to take out the 3 screws that hold the top of the panel on. As you're taking the middle one out, you want to make sure you hold the panel up so it doesn't slip or move. Once you have all the screws out, we're going to just carefully pull the top of the panel away from the machine. You have to make sure you get them over those tabs right there. And then you want to pull the wiring harness out. Make sure it's not caught up in there. Then just lift it off the 2 lower screws and set it aside. Now we have to get this bracket out of the way. First we're going to run some tape from the bracket itself over to the cabinet just to support it. Once you have it taped in place, we're going to use the 1/4" nut driver to take out the screw. Now we're going to use the 1/4" nut driver again to take out the screws that hold this front panel on. Once you have all the screws out, there's a little tab on each side that holds it in. So we're just going to lift up on the panel and then pull it out. Once you have it off, you can set it aside. Now we're going to take this front bulkhead off. First, we're going to take off the wiring harness for the moisture sensor. It's just a couple of clips that hold the wiring harness together. You just have to press to unlock it, pull it apart, and then we can go down to the bottom. We have to remove this support bracket that holds the blower housing on. We're just going to use the 1/4-inch nut driver to take out the screw that holds it in. Once you have the screw out, you just have to unhook the bracket from the housing, pull it out. Then we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to remove the 4 screws that hold the bulkhead to the cabinet. Once you have the screws out, the bulkhead is just held on by these tabs at the top. We're just going to carefully lift it up and pull it off. Once you have it off, you can set it aside. The belt runs across the middle of the drum right here. Now that we have the bulkhead off, we're going to reach underneath and take it out of the pulleys. Once you reach in there, you want to grab the idler pulley and pull it towards the side of the machine, and then unhook the belt from the idler and the motor pulley. Once you have the belt out of the pulleys, we're going to use it to lift up on the drum and then guide the drum out from the cabinet. Maybe a little tight right here because there's no cutouts like on some dryers. So you just have to carefully feed it out. Once you have it out, we're going to set the drum on its rear end so we can change the front seal. Once you have it on the end, you just want to grab the belt and set it aside. Anytime you're taking a dryer apart and you see this much lint inside of it, you want to make sure you clean it out so you get rid of the fire hazard. Once you have the belt set aside, we have to remove the old front drum felt seal. Just glued on the lip of the tub right here. We're just going to cut it with a razor blade and pull it off. Once you have it all the way off, you can pull it off the drum. Here's the old front drum felt seal next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. Before you put the new seal on, you want to make sure that you get this lip as clean as you can. We're just going to use a scouring pad and some cleaner to clean it up. If you have any glue that you can't get off, you can use a razor blade to help scrape it off. Before you put the seal on with the glue, we're just going to make sure there's no twists in it. And sometimes these seem a little tight when you put them on, so we're just going to test it real quick. You want to make sure that the black binding here with the red thread goes on the outside of the lip. And we're just going to kind of test fit it to see how it fits. If you get to the point where you can't stretch it anymore and feels like you're going to pull it off the lip if you try to, then we're going to take it off and stretch it out a little bit so it fits better. To stretch it out, just find this thread mark here, and we're just going to kind of stretch it out a little bit so it's easier to stretch around the drum lip later. Once you have it ready, we can grab the glue and glue it on. Once you have the felt seal so it's fitting good, we're going to lay the drum on its side like this so we can pull the gasket off and put the glue across it and then hold it on with some clothespins. You want to make sure you use some high temperature adhesive so it doesn't fail on the dryer. So we're just gonna put a clothespin or two right here to hold this side on. And then we're gonna put the glue around and put the seal on and use some clothespins to hold it. You don't need very much, just a little bead. Once you have it glued on, we're just gonna carefully set the drum back up on the back seal. And then you wanna go around and just push that seal into the glue to make sure it's in there good. Once you have it installed, you wanna make sure you let the glue dry for 24 hours before you put the dryer back together and run it. Once the glue is cured, we're going to take the clothespins off and lay the drum on its side. Then we're going to put the belt around it so we can guide it back into the dryer. Now we can put the drum back in. We're just going to lift it up and guide it back into the cabinet. If you have to, just push the edges of the cabinet out a little bit to make room. And then you want to make sure that you put the rear of the drum on the rollers in the back. Then you can set the drum down and make sure you put the belt on the wear mark and make sure that the grooves are down. Once you have it in place, we can go underneath and put the belt through the pulleys. To put the belt through the pulleys, we're just going to reach in and grab the idler pulley and pull it over towards the edge of the machine and hook the belt around the idler pulley and the motor pulley. Now we can put the bulkhead on. You want to make sure that this shield goes underneath the drum, and then you have to lift the drum up and put it on the rollers. So just want to guide it in and then lift up on the drum. Get the rollers underneath there, and you can lift up on the bulkhead and hook it into the cabinet. Once you have both sides hooked on, we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put in the screws. Once you have those on, we can go on the bottom and put the bracket on. You just have to hook it into the little clip right there, and then put the little tab there on the bottom of the cabinet. And then we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put the screw in. Once you have the bracket on, we can reconnect the wire harness for the moisture sensor. All you have to do is line it up. It can only go on one way. Just make sure they snap in so you get a good connection. Then we can put the support bracket on the top. You want to make sure that this tab is at the top of the cutout here on each side, and then push it down to lock it in. Once you have it in, we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put in the screws to hold in place. Once you have the bracket on, we can remount the control board. Just gonna take the tape off. And swing it over. Use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put in the screw that holds it on. Then we can route the wiring harness for the drum light. All you have to do is push it up behind the support panel and leave it there so we can connect it later. Now we can put the front panel on. Might be a little tricky, but you're going to have to line up the two tabs that have the cutouts at the bottom onto the screws and then lift the panel up into place. As you lift it up, we're going to run the wire harness for the door switch up into the control panel. Once you have it in place, we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put in the screws to hold the top of the panel on. Now we're going to lift the dryer up just like when we took the panel off. Just want to carefully lift it up and put a wood block underneath it to support it. So we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to tighten down and put those screws back in. Once you have them in, we can carefully lift the dryer up again, pull the wood block out, and set it down. Now we're going to open up the door and use the Phillips screwdriver to put in the two screws that hold the lint housing to the front panel. Once you have those in, you can close the door. Now we can put the control panel on. There's a couple little tabs here on each end that go in there. And then before you line those up, we have to put the wiring harnesses through the support bracket. And then you can twist those over, line them up with the front panel. Once you have it snapped into place, we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put in the screws that hold the control panel on. Now we're going to reconnect all the wire harnesses. I'm just going to reach down and grab the door switch wiring harness, hook it together. It can only go on one way, just make sure it locks together. Then we can connect the wiring harnesses from the control panel. We're going to hook up the drum light first. Just have to press it in so it locks in. And then one to the control board. Just press it in so it locks in. Once you have everything on, we can put the top of the dryer back on. We're just going to set the front down in that little channel first, then lower the back down and press it in. You want to make sure that that tab goes underneath and locks in place. Once you have the top panel in place, we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put in the screws to hold it on. Now that we have the dryer put back together, we can plug it back in, turn the gas back on, take it for a spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.